2026 going to look a lot different for the Jaguars, even though they're running it back with the same coaches. I'll explain why I feel that way on this edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday. It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast that you can find everywhere you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen. We will be there. And shout out to the everydayers who join us each and every day. We appreciate you and do not take you for granted. It is your team every day, and it is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Give you an idea of where we're going today. The Jacksonville Jaguars got all of their coaches back. Brent Udinski and Anthony Campanile both went on the circuit of getting head coaching job opportunities and interviews. Probably a good process for them. Then they got a raise to come back to Jacksonville, and all of the jobs are pretty much filled. I think they all are filled now, with Clint Kubiak being the last one, along with Mike LaFleur. I'm glad we brought up LaFleur. Well, I brought up LaFleur because one thing I will tell you, man, is this is a copycat league. Copycat league that most of these coaches are coming from the Rams or the 49ers organization. It's just something that Shanahan, McVay tree, and I can't talk too bad about it because our coach came from that tree, Liam Coen. So a lot of teams are really, really trying to emulate what happened with the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. The Rams are an interesting study for me because they did something this past season. Now, this is just my opinion. I'm not telling you that this is the opinion of the Rams coaches or their GM Les Snead when they did something. I'm going to use an example to make a point about Jacksonville. And that is that just because you run it back doesn't guarantee success. So here's what we're going to discuss today. Continuity and staff has its advantages, what running it back won't do, and then how to push this team forward. So last year, the Rams in the offseason, if you remember, they played Philadelphia to go to the Super Bowl, and they lost. Basically, it was one play. It was just a play. They lost at the end of the game. They were in the red zone, similar, very, very similar to what happened to them this year again. They go out and add Devontae Adams, and you think, okay, if they just need one play, that is the one playmaker. That is the dude that can get that done. Well, that was me saying that. And that was a lot of narratives that were pointed out about the Rams, and that's why they were the Super Bowl champions in a lot of people's minds. They got right back to the exact same spot that they were in last year, and guess what? Fell flat again, just almost identical. Had a chance to go up late in the game in the red zone and didn't get it done. Couldn't make that one play that they needed to make. You can't take these years and kind of put them together like a chain, man, and think that you're going to, all we got to do, okay, so we went 13-4 this year if we're the Jacksonville Jaguars, and all we got to do is add this, and this, and we can get over the hump. I don't think it works that way. In fact, I'll tell you right now why continuity is important for this organization. Because they're going to evolve. The way the Jaguars are, they ain't trying to run that back. They ain't trying to do it again just like they did it last year. They're trying to be better. They're going to evolve. They're going to improve, get better, add more talent to their process, and press forward for a different result. Their record might not even be as good as it was this year. I don't expect them to fall backwards like, say, the Washington franchise did this past season, or Detroit after making the playoffs, and then all of a sudden, boom, they don't make it. I don't expect the Jaguars to do that. In fact, I expect them to be a very, very competitive team in the AFC next year. But if they do it, it's going to be different. It's going to be the same, but different. The core of who you are, how your process works, how you move, what you lead with, all of those things will be the same because they have the continuity of the staff. And the big three, I call them the big three, Tony Baselli, James Gladstone, and Liam Coen. That's where it is. The Coen relationship with his quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. That's where it is. The fact that they have a baseline to improve and get better. If you just look at them not adding anything, they're going to get Jordan Lewis back. They're going to get Travis Hunter back. To me, the most needy part of what they needed to do this year was be more sticky on the back end. And those two dudes play with their feet on fire. And they play through the whistle. So those guys will be back. But it's not enough. It's not enough to just say we'll just be healthy, because injuries can pop up and happen again next year. And it's something that you have to be prepared for, the way the Jaguars were prepared for it this year. So while continuity does have its advantages, it doesn't guarantee success. You have to actually go out and do the work and put the work in. And I think that's what they'll do, because to me, they've had a lot of buy-in. They've had buy-in, players believe it. And that was the one thing that we were worried about coming to a team that had been traditionally a losing franchise, is how quickly or how effective could they be while they were turning the roster over to get guys to buy into this situation. I also believe that when it comes to free agency this year, that the Jacksonville Jaguars will have opportunities, if they clear enough space, to be active and attack some positions and some spots that they really, really need. Everybody keeps telling me to do mock drafts, but it's hard for me to do mock drafts without doing free agency first, because the mock drafts I'm going to do is just going to be about, it's not even going to be about need and position as much as it'll just be about who the highest ranked player is, and you just take it. So I don't really know what the Jaguars are going to be doing with in terms of retention with Devin Lloyd. There's some talk out there that people expect him to hit free agency because he's outpriced himself with his stellar play. You never want to be in a situation where you can't re-sign a guy who's shown he's very good, especially a second-team All-Pro. But I know you have to prioritize what it is that you have to do, and it might not be a priority for them to pay $15, $20 million to a linebacker. Okay. The other thing is, the continuity means that they're not teaching it from scratch this year. There'll be a lot of familiarity. You don't have to get used to some new way of doing things, other than the fact that they're probably going to implement some new things, because this is what they said. Remember, they used the word evolve. It is going to evolve. I think what they're also saying is they're going to add they're going to add to some of the things that they were already doing, but do it probably with more intensity, with more guys that when they took this team over, this was their team. All of the guys were their guys. But I'm talking about people that are new. They're going to get new players each and every year. At least, I'd say 10 draft picks after they move around a little bit. All 10 of them will have a chance. They'll probably have 10 undrafted free agents, and you've seen that they will give those guys an opportunity to make this team. A lot of them made it last year. And to think that they may go and add 5 or 6 guys in free agency, so that's like 26 people. And maybe all of those dudes don't make it. Maybe 1 or 2, and the better the team gets, one or two of those free agents will make it. So you're looking at maybe 12 plus 5 or 6 in free agents, about 16, 17 new players. And that's going to be a big thing. Those guys will be handpicked by them after they've gotten in here, and they got a baseline for what they want to do. But running it back in and of itself won't be enough. They'll have to do a lot more. And I'm wondering if the coaching staff is going to turn the heat up a little bit. And I don't mean change their personality, but I mean, how do you push this team to not rest on what they did, push them to be great again, but start it all over? You got to retool this thing all over again, man. Nothing you did last year is going to help you unless you let it. And I'll tell you how the Jaguars can do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it all feels good to be right. It always feels good to be right because you get some money, man. And this week, Prize Picks has a special max discount for the big game live in the app right now. Drake May just needs one passing yard for the max discount to win and another player to your lineup. All you got to do is add another one. And if your pick hits, you can cash in. Prize Picks is super simple to use. It takes no time to get started. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Drip Drop. Let me tell you all about it, man. Kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, right? And honestly, hydration is the easiest win. When I stay on top of it, my energy, focus, and mood, it all levels up. But let's be real, plain water doesn't always cut it, especially when you're grinding through long days, hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where Drip Drop comes in. Doctor developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clearer, better focus, better energy, elevated mood, even that fresh skin glow. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com. Promo code is LOCKEDONNFL for $20 for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. All right, running it down here on Locked On Jaguars. It's Super Bowl week, man. I'm going out to Vegas on Thursday. You'll get your shows this week. Don't worry. Don't fret. You get a squad show today, too, with me and Mill O'Brien. And then Wednesday, my man Marquise Ogden will be back, so make sure you tap into that. Y'all need to join the Everydayers Club, too, man. Look down in the description wherever you watch or listen and check us out for a small $5 fee to join the Everydayers Club. There's levels to it now. You get a chance to get our merch. And you get audio versions of our show ad-free on there and a lot more. Make sure you check that out down in the description. Tap into the Everydayers Club. All right, so what running it back won't do, just because all of the coaches came back, and I'm not being negative Nancy here, it's good for continuity. I just wasn't one of those people out here going, oh, woe is me. They're going to take our coaches, especially when, you like the guys, right? So you want them to live their dreams and fulfill their dreams of being head coaches, get generational money that'll change their lives and the lives of their families forever. And if it's what they want, then I want it for them. I don't want to be selfish and try to be like Tampa Bay fans and get all mad just because coordinators get jobs. And when your coordinators are getting jobs, that is a sign that people want your program, which means your program is going well. So I was never the one. I feel like it's I get people saying, no, not yet. Please, just another year. Don't take our assistance. I get it. I'm not trying to be a football snob here, but I'm also going to be honest with you. And y'all know that while all of that stuff was going on, I was just saying, man, come on, man. How can y'all not like the fact that people want our coaches and for them, as long as Liam Coen is there, I mean, you got the best of it, right? You got your offensive play caller, offensive-minded coach. The offense won't change. He's lined with Trevor. You got everything that you could ask for. Now you can't be all selfish and try to just keep your coaches all the time. It just doesn't happen. So I wasn't in that train of thought where I was just basically telling people it won't be the worst thing in the world, and to get over it, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So that's why now that they're all back, it's not that I'm not as enthusiastic about that as other people. It's just that there was nothing for me to be enthusiastic about because I was never against those guys going and getting coaching jobs. I just wasn't. So I really believe that they have a system that they know and like, and they know exactly how they want to play, and they know Liam probably has a little napkin in his pocket, and he already knows exactly who the other guys will be. That doesn't mean that I'm poo-pooing on the contributions of Grant Udinski and Anthony Campanile. That is far from the truth. I think they are valuable. I have told other people that in other markets. I've said it on national shows. And you hear the value when you hear players talk about them. And it's just that the reality of this business is, as long as you are a good football team, people are going to want your players and they're going to want your coaches. Running it back is a good thing because you keep the continuity. You're not losing anything, and you can actually build on what you already have done without starting over, if you will, essentially with possibly new terminology and little different little idiosyncrasies that even if you run in the same system, that it's just going to be a little bit of a difference. It happens. Everybody has their own little thing that they add to this big pot of football gumbo that we call the Jacksonville Jaguars. But coaches can't tackle. They don't block. They don't block. They don't tackle. Nothing you did last year is going to count. Once this season starts, it's going to be 0-0 in the win-loss column. No one will have any yards. No one will have any touchdowns. You just have to go and have demonstrated performance and do it again. And by that, I mean win again, play hard, scheme up, have a good offseason, approach it like you're still hungry, right? Know that this is not a situation where the rabbit, you ain't gonna sneak up on anybody. I don't even know what the hell I was about to say, but you ain't gonna sneak up on nobody no more. I'll tell you that. They say it ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. Well, guess what? The rabbit's got the gun now, and you're the target. People expect the Jacksonville Jaguars to make noise. They're going to approach the Jacksonville Jaguars differently. You're going to see everything. Everything's going to be, and the Jaguars believe that they're good now. I firmly believe that because they earned everything on the field. None of this stuff was luck. And I believe that they think they're going to be a very, very good football team, the players as well as the coaches. So you can't really coach it the same, can you? Do you have to take another approach where it's more the same, it's consistent, but it's last year it was like, okay, we're trying to figure all of this out. Now it's like, it looked like y'all did a good job of figuring it out. Now it's like, we got to figure it out again. And this year is going to be a totally different season. Totally different season. We got to build on what we did last year without expecting anything you did last year to actually help you. Maybe they are a little bit more intentional because it's now they're always evaluating, but it's not like, okay, let me see what this guy can do. For instance, they knew what Parker Washington, what he looked like, but James Gladstone, in his own words, say, okay, let's see this when we get it on the field. We think we see what it is, but let's see. So now they know what Parker Washington is capable of. Now they have Jacoby Myers. What do they have in BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr.? You talk about somebody who needed a new start and a new year, BTJ. Last game of the year, he caught a touchdown. And I thought that they would go to him more, but he only had 2 catches in their playoff loss. So what's going on there? They added 4 offensive linemen in free agency last year. They kept 3 of them, and then they drafted 2 who actually played. They re-signed Cole Van Lannon. Are they done on the offensive line, or how many? What are you gonna get a starter? You're gonna hit it again like that? You're gonna add 2 more? Just by the pure numbers, they're only gonna be able to add maybe 2 players at the most on the offensive line. Where do you get them? Did you get them in free agency, something that's proven, or you did get it in a draft? It's gonna look different. What if there's no Devin Lloyd? And what do they do with Travis Etienne? What if there's no Travis Etienne? I don't know. We don't know. So those questions, all of those things have to be answered. This team will not look. What is it going to look like with Travis Hunter playing more defense, but now coming off of an injury? You see? All of those things will be answered this offseason with the Jaguars, and you'll get your answer when they get on the field. How to push forward. This is the thing. Everybody's talking about it like I'm just talking about they need to push forward. What do you think they need to do? I don't think they need to change who they are. Just think they can probably do a little bit more of it. Like I say, it's fluid. We'll discuss the possibilities, the third final segment, right here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Coen. That's right. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way, like the Vikings just did that. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. It's no surprise, Quo is the number one rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnfl. That's QUO.com/lockedonnfl. Quo, no missed calls and no missed customers. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Game Time. It's time to get tickets, man. You know what it is. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part can always not be so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast, without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, and that is with the fans. Pulled up on a Game Time app, picked an upcoming NBA game, and had tickets just like that, locked in within minutes. No surprises either at checkout, because whatever the price they say, that's what it is. You don't get to checkout and then find all of these other things added on to it. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. All right, man, we shake, rattle, and roll and moving and grooving here on Locked On Jaguars on a Monday, Super Bowl week. Super Bowl week. I wish the Jaguars were in it. I really thought they were going to make it, y'all. I did. Bills fans gave me a hard time about that, too. I thought the Jaguars were going to the Super Bowl. I'm more interested, though, in them being consistently good on a year-in and year-out basis than just one season here, one season there. And I think they have a chance to do that. So how do they push forward? What do? Keep that same hunger you had last year. Let the sting of that Buffalo game sit in your stomach for a little while, but at some point, just like a bad play, you got to move on and get on to the next one. Like, you can move on to the next play, but still you can remember what that felt like and not want to feel that again. I think they really believed they were the better team that day on the field, and they lost. I would tend to agree with them. I would absolutely tend to agree with them. I think they have to continue to be who they are, take an aggressive approach to everything, and just ramp it up just a little bit even more. Because when you want to take another step, and the next step that the Jaguars have to take it as an organization is a big one. Being relevant is a huge, huge step. I remember I was in the military. They said it's hard to make E6. It's really, really hard to make E6, right? That's a tech sergeant in the Air Force. But once you make E6, you're there, right? They say most of the time the E6 guys run the military because E7 is next, and those guys are really superintendents and supervisors. So what it is they say it's really hard to go from E1 to E6, but it's real hard to go from E6 to E7, even though it's only one more step, right? And we've all been around stuff like that. That last step is something else, man. And now to get to that last step where you have to be elite, they have a lot of things in their favor. The continuity definitely helps. We did a show not too long ago about head coach and quarterback, Liam Coen and Trevor Lawrence, and that relationship. That definitely is a big thing, especially as you continue to see teams that win. Not so much this year, kind of, but normally you see these teams that have been good, that are keep pushing for championships. And one of the reasons they're able to do it is because of the coach quarterback. It's not even true in Philly either. Philly that's a weird situation, but you get the point. Going all the way back to Montana and Walsh and Chuck Noll and Bradshaw and all through the 90s with Jimmy Johnson and you had Shula and Greasy. That quarterback coach combination is big. Big Ben and Mike Tomlin. It's just a big, big deal, man, in my opinion. The biggest one, of course, Brady and Belichick, and then Mahomes and Andy Reid. I think the Jaguars have something with that now. And it's to the point where this is what everybody else is trying. Everyone is looking at Chicago and everyone is looking at Jacksonville along with New England as the franchises. They say that's what we want to do. The teams that are losing, look, watch how they're emulating the teams that made these really, really quick jumps just a year ago. You don't want to be in a situation where, like Washington, they're looking, Cliff Kingsbury isn't there anymore. So Jaden Daniels is going to have a new offensive coordinator. The Jaguars don't necessarily have to deal with that type of change, but the change that they have to do, the thing that they have to do is be very, very proactive in what you cannot let complacency kick in because you think, okay, we're going to do exactly what we did last year. We built on it. We got there. You cannot let that kind of complacency seep in. One reason I believe that won't happen is because of the type of people they are and the type of people they went and got. And those are, as I tell my friend Sam, we were just talking about it yesterday, football playing Jessies. If I go to these dudes' houses, man, all of their throw pillows on their sofas are probably in the shape of a football. Their dog probably has a name like Butkus or something. The kind of players the Jacksonville Jaguars have been going after and signing, that's one of the reasons they picked Travis Hunter, because he loves the game so much he didn't want to come off the field. That's exactly the thing that I'm talking about. To me, that is something that helps you get better and improve, and it doesn't allow that complacency, thinking that you can just show up and the things that happened last year are going to happen. No, I don't think that's going to happen with the Jaguars. I do believe even on top of that, coaches are going to be a big part of it because I think they're going to probably push and they're going to lean into it and push a little bit harder, because you always want people that you're responsible for to get every single thing that you think is coming for them. And I just think the Jaguars have one more game in them, man, at least one more game in them this past season to see what happened. They're going to have to earn that game on the field, and that's why I think you'll see coaches a little bit with a little bit more push. And not that they didn't have push and drive and sense of urgency last year, but if you want more, you got to do something different. You got to do a little bit more while you're trying to manage being consistent enough to do a lot of the same things. I hope that kind of cleared it up for you, man. Squad show will be out today. Later on today, we'll talk and we'll continue to look at some prospects moving forward, probably a little bit later as we get closer to free agency. That's going to be a big deal. So that's what I'll do tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Look at the two teams and see how they're built and see if there's anything we can take out of that to give us an idea of how the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to proceed in the offseason. You guys take care. We don't take you for granted here on Locked On Jaguars, man. I'm glad to have you each and every day. We'll see you next time here. Make sure you join the Everydays Club down in the description of the show. You guys take care.